Hey everyone, it's Rob Ryder. It is still August 4th, 2013. That'd be a Sunday. One of the things we're trying to do, appears to me, is there's another motu proprio order of the Pope called the Pontifical Council for the Laity. And there it says the drafting of decrees granting judicial personality. It's one of the things that's supposed to be available to the laity and would give you an office sui juris within the Holy See. So, I've been trying lots of things thinking of lots of ways to do this. One seemed to be, well, petition the Pope, right? Because, as we'll see, a decree is really coming out of a court anyways. And so how do you start a court case? Well, with a petition. So they're trying to figure out how you were supposed to petition the Pope. And the only way that I've seen that actually says was on this website here, ewtn.com/holy-see/curia, CURIA/contact. And it's hard to read on here, so I'm not going to try, but I put the words here. It says, contacting a Roman dicastery, which is a law court. There's numerous ones. Since the Supreme Pontiff has immediate ordinary jurisdiction in every particular church or diocese in the world, canon law affords every Catholic the right to appeal to the Pope. Now again, Catholic is any baptized Christian. This is done through the Roman dicasteries, congregations, councils, etc. Letters should be brief, factual, and respectful. To determine the department of the Roman Curia with responsibility over a particular area of the church's life, and the current department heads, see index of departments. And unfortunately, that index didn't seem to work. But the council that we're talking about is the Pontifical Council for the Laity. It was set up as part of a decree from Vatican II to set something like this up. And it was done under the decree, the Pontifical Council for the Laity, in which it says that one of the things they would do is drafting of decrees granting juridical personality. So the name of the council is the Pontifical Council for the Laity, and it's on the Vatican website. And so we would have to go get the prefect or president is a cardinal, which he is. Some Polish guy, as a matter of fact. Addressing the envelope, it would go to His Eminence, Cardinal, whoever. It wouldn't be congregation for it would be the Pontifical Council for the Laity, 00120, Vatican City, State, Europe. Salutations in your letter, Your Eminence, blah, blah, blah. Conclusion of your letter. I have the honor to be, Your Eminence, your own name. That's interesting. I have the honor to be Your Eminence with my name. I am Your Eminence. That's good stuff. So these other ones, I don't know that it matters. See, now this is the Pontifical Council for. That's interesting. But it is a prefect or president is an archbishop. No, he's a cardinal. He's a cardinal on this one. I'm sure when we go look, we'll see that he is a cardinal. And so that's just basically how you address the envelope, what you put on it. Now on my envelope, I'm going to put the Pope, care of His Eminence, yada, yada, yada. I'm still going to put the Pope's name on because I'm going to petition the Pope. And we tried to do that earlier this week with this right here, Petissimi Peder Francis. I found that in the definition of petition to the Pope someplace, and that's how it said you should start it. And then that you should put your full name, your place of residence, and within what diocese you are. So boom, boom, boom. And what am I doing? I'm acknowledgement of papal decrees. So given the name Robert Allen, baptized in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Amen. Duly confirmed into the Catholic Church at the age of reason, granted a commission by the Lord Himself, I acknowledge and accept the special office, Christa Fieldis, and its sui juridical personality within the universal church, inclusive of the mandate to speak in his name, conforming the temporal order to his will as one of the lay apostolates and pilgrim church. As evidence, I include a copy of my certificate of baptism with notation of confirmation and claim that by the teachings of the gospel, papal decrees, the Pontifical Council for the Laity, on the apostolate of the laity, the dogmatic constitution of the Catholic Church, Lumen Gentium, and the Code of Canon Law in 1983, that it is the will of God that a singular decree be drafted, issued, published, informing the world of my status within the Holy See. I come in peace to love and serve the Lord, answering the call of the Holy Spirit to join in the harvest of the vineyard, and ask your holiness for your blessing, and by reason of infallibility of your office as authorization for the manifestation of the will of the Lord by decree. I ask for the drafting and execution of the decree for sui juris juridical personality and acknowledgement of the rights, title, and interest of said office. As God is my witness, I swear to everything I have written in this petition as true and correct. Well, this was before I had found this. So we had wrote this, so I had wrote this up and talked to a few people about it. I said, well, let's think about it. We're talking about the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church is a government. And so the local parish is like the county clerk of the government. And, the pastor there has delegated authority in certain matters, right? He's an administrator. So we thought we'd take it there to see what they would do with it. So I took one, and Ro took one, and Bobby tried to take one in Arizona. And the day I went on Wednesday, the pastor was out, had 2 funerals that day, so I'm talking to the secretary, and so I told her I want to petition the Pope, and she didn't know what to do about that. She didn't know what to do with it. Didn't know what she should do. But she said, well, the pastor's out. He's got these 2 funerals. And she said, well, just a minute. And she went back and talked to somebody in an office. I didn't ask her who it was. When she came back, she said that, sorry for the noise, my son-in-law. So when she came back with a number of the diocese, and they said, well, I really think you should call the diocese and talk to them. And I said, okay, well, the way I try to do things, if I'm going to go someplace, I'm leaving the paper. I can make another copy. So, well, that's fine. I would like to leave this for the pastor anyways. And I left him this, and then a couple of questions on the letter from the Pope as far as where the courts were going to be for us to bring the apostates who were breaking God's law. And Ro had taken one. Now her church is like 5 minutes down the road. Unfortunately, I have a car, so I don't get to drive around much, and everything is 15 minutes away. But so she had gone down and taken. She had left some questions last week for the pastor, and then came in Monday, I think it was, and left him this. Tuesday, went back Wednesday, still hadn't heard anything. But the secretary said, look, I'm going to put it in this envelope. It'll be in our meeting. I guess it would have been Wednesday morning they had this meeting. And out of that meeting, she got a call and said that the pastor wouldn't put the seal on the petition, that she needed to go and talk to another guy. And that other guy was Father Martin Emick. And he's originally from Nigeria and is a priest of the Diocese of Rockford, ordained in 2002, a canon lawyer by specialization. He serves as vice chancellor and archivist for his diocese as ecclesiastic judge for the Court of Appeals, Province of Chicago. He is also pastor of St. Peter's Catholic Church. That's interesting. St. Peter's got the keys to the kingdom of heaven. So this guy is a canon lawyer. He's a vice chancellor. In English law, there were 3 judges that made up the Court of Chancery. It would be the chancellor, the vice chancellor, and the master of the rolls. And any one of them could hear a case and render a judgment, and if there was an appeal, it would go to the body of the 3 of them. So he's a vice chancellor and an archivist. And, archivist is not only over old records, he's over all records. And an ecclesiastic judge of the Court of Appeals. And basically we're appealing to the Pope to have a decree issued. So she went down. Now this, isn't too far away. It's in another town. So she went down to this diocese or this church, and go figure, this judge is out in California right now. Some kind of training or something. I wonder if it has anything to do with the letter that the Pope put out. And so Rose said, well, that she had left him a message, and the secretary is nice. And I said, well, look, if there's something important, I can send him a text, a tweet, whatever that would be. Something that he checks daily to see what's come from her. And so she kind of took down what Roe was trying to get, that she's trying to get a final decree based on the decree, the Pontifical Council for the Laity, to have a drafting of a decree for a juridical personality. That's where it was left Friday, right? So the interesting thing is, this guy is a canon lawyer, and we're talking canon law, church law of any kind. He's a vice chancellor, and he's archivist, and he's on the Court of Appeals. He really does sound like the right kind of guy to talk to. So the fact that this other pastor wouldn't sign it isn't the big deal, as long as he put her in the right direction. So now we're waiting to see what she hears from him. But in the meantime, she's going to go up to Chicago to the Archdiocese because her friend Brown, who we've talked about before with his foreclosure, would like to do the same thing. So they're going to go poke around at the Archdiocese and go find somebody and ask them about it. I'm going to, I might change this a little bit, and then I'm going to send it to, I'm going to mail it to the head of the Pontifical Council for the Laity and see if we can get any action that way. I also, let me close some of these so that I don't get lost. Okay, so what did I do? So on Friday, not having anything else to do, I sent this to the Vicar General of my diocese here in Grand Rapids. About a year and a half ago, I had sent out a whole bunch of different kinds of criminal complaints based on the penal codes of Michigan. In fact, one time when I was sitting there in video court after spending 2.5 days in a holding cell, toilet paper for a roll of toilet paper for a pillow. If you're going to a holding cell, first thing you want to do is walk around to where the toilet is, see if there's an extra roll, and grab it, because that may be your pillow. That was for 2 days. Well, when I got to traffic court, or whatever the court was for, it was a traffic violation, and I owed $25 on child support, and they put a warrant out for that. We didn't talk too much about that. The judge really talked about these complaints I had sent to her office maybe 3 weeks before. And, it was a very interesting conversation that she really had to study and go look and read. I want you to know I really had to study. And, by God, I really had to study. And it's not that you're not correct. It's not that you're not correct. In other words, I was correct. However, I'm not inclined to issue any warrants. Well, that's what she told me. So, I had also sent one similar to that to the, in fact, I did a video on it. It was for Mike in Texas who got IRS charge. And I sent it to the bishop. And I got a reply, and I wish I would have kept it. Most of the shit I don't keep. But it was very short, and it was from the bishop's assistant, and said, unfortunately we can't get involved in civil matters, and yada, yada, yada. Well, that bishop's assistant, when you actually go and look online, who the bishop's assistant is the Vicar General. He didn't put on there he's a Vicar General. He just said he was the bishop's assistant. He was wearing his other hat. So I went to him as the Vicar General. Vicar General, I am a son of God, given the name Robert Allen, inhabiting the earthen vessel, Robert Allen Bertluski, answering the call of the Holy Spirit, seeking your assistance in manifesting the will of the Lord. In accordance with the papal decree, the Pontifical Council for the Laity, I am seeking the execution of a final decree establishing my special office within the Holy See. The Lord himself commissioned this office to me, and I acknowledge and accept the office. I believe a version of inquest of office or similar proceeding, initiated by an original writ sued out of the Court of Chancery under the Great Seal, for a real action in a court of common pleas to determine the rights, title, and interest in my lands and estates, and establishing a sui juris juridical personality, corporate soul, will result in a final decree to settle the matter once and for all that I am a lay apostolate, Christi Fieldis, citizen of the Holy See within the world. In my motion for decree, I motion for my decree and can provide evidence by certificate of baptism issued from St. Anthony's Parish, Auburn, Michigan, proving my baptism on the 18th day of September 1958, and notation of confirmation November 6, 1967. Further, with the recent issuance of the apostolic letter of the Supreme Pontiff Francis on the jurisdiction of juridical authority of Vatican City State in criminal matters, will we have to prosecute each event separately, or will September 1st be a form of the rapture by the mass arrest of those practicing Protestant legalism, resulting in lots of empty courthouses, county buildings, and usurped offices of civil authority? Papal decree, the Pontifical Council for Laity establish a dicastery for disputes between members of the laity. Where is this court located? Where is the laity to bring their evidence and sworn complaints against false accusers, willfully false judgments, perjury of witnesses, other matters of faith and sin? Are the forms available yet? In closing, can you please present me to the proper magistrate and relieve my ancestors myself the disability caused by the Sesta KV Act so I can be about my Father's business? Sesta KV Act says you're lost beyond the sea. Not lost at sea, you're lost beyond the sea. You're lost beyond the territory of the Holy See. And we got to get back. So I sent that email on Friday. I didn't hear anything. And Bob tried to talk to the diocese in Phoenix on Friday, and nobody answered the phone. You know, I don't think they work too hard in the summer. I hope they're enjoying their time off, because we're going to change that. So Bob's going to go down Monday. I'm going to see if the Vicar General's back. Roe's going to go to the Archdiocese. Anybody else want to get involved? Please go ask a question. Please. We're trying to find out some real simple things, and we're going to get into what that is here now. So, let's see. So what is a decree? The judgment of a court of equity or chancery, answering for the most purposes to the judgment of a court of law. So they come out of equity or chancery, court of justice, right? Not courts of law, courts of justice. A decree in equity is a sentence or order of the court pronounced on hearing and understanding all points of issue and determining the rights of the parties to the suit according to equity and good conscience. Good conscience, beautiful. It is a declaration of the court announcing the legal consequences of the facts found. Decrees in equity are either final or interlocutory. A final decree is one that fully and finally disposes of the whole litigation, determining all questions raised by the case and leaving nothing that requires further judicial action. That's what we're trying to get, a final decree. Okay. An interlocutory decree is a provisional or preliminary decree which is not final and does not determine the suit but directs some further proceeding preparatory to the final decree. And so I think that this one that is called the Pontifical Council for the Laity is a provisional decree. It makes provisions for things to happen. However, we need a motion for it, maybe. It is a decree pronounced for the purpose of asserting matter of law and fact preparatory to a final decree. So all the facts, matters of fact and law have already been asserted. Right? And we just need to do one thing to execute it. Where something more than a ministerial execution of decree as rendered is left to be done, the decree is interlocutory and not final, even though it settles the equities of the bill. So it takes something more than a ministerial execution. And I think it takes a judicial determination. and then the execution. And we're trying to get a judicial determination in the form of a final decree on the rights, title, and interest to our lands and estates. Consent decree, agreement by defendant to cease activities asserted as illegal by government. Excellent. Upon approval of such agreement by the court, the government's action against the defendant is dropped. Also, a decree entered in equity suit on consent of both parties. It is not properly a judicial sentence, but is in the nature of a solemn contract or agreements of the parties made under the sanctions of a court, and in effect an admission by them that the decree is a just determination of the rights upon the real facts of the case, if such facts had been proved. Need to prove that you were baptized and confirmed into the universal church, into the body of Christ as one of the members. Therefore, you have citizenship within the Holy See, and there's supposed to be a special office for the lay apostolate, and with that office comes your benefice. It binds only the consenting parties and is not binding upon the court. Decree nisi, a provisional decree which will be made absolute on motion unless cause be shown against it. And so maybe that's what we have, a decree nisi. It's a provisional decree which will be made absolute on motion. So we want a motion for a final decree. Interlocutory judgment or decree in a divorce action. I don't really care about divorce action. Decree of distribution, an instrument by which heirs receive property of the deceased. It is final determination of the parties to the proceeding. Decree pro confessio, one entered in a court of equity in favor of a complainant where the defendant has made no answer to the bill and its allegations are consequently taken as confessed. So we don't need their permission, we can take their silence. It is merely an admission of the allegation of the bill well pleaded. For execution of decrees, execution. Execution, carrying out some act, course of conduct to its completion. Completing an act, putting into force, the completion, fulfillment, perfecting of anything, or carrying into the operation and effect. Execution of contract. Includes performance of all acts necessary to render it complete as an instrument, and imports ideas that nothing remains to be done to make complete an effective contract. So we're trying to get execution. Execution of process in action to carry into effect the directions in a decree or judgment. Okay, inquest. A body of men appointed by law to inquire into certain matters, as the inquest examine into the facts connected with the alleged murder. The grand jury is sometimes called a grand inquest. The judicial inquiry itself is also called an inquest. So a judicial inquiry is called an inquest. The finding of such men upon an investigation is also called an inquest or an inquisition. An inquest of office was bound to find for the king upon the direction of the court. The reason given is that the inquest concluded no man of his right, but only gave the king an opportunity to enter so that he could have his rights tried. That's what we're trying to do, have our rights tried. Inquest of office, in Old English practice, an inquiry made by the king's officer, sheriff, coroner, executor, by virtue of office, or by writ sent to them for that purpose, or by commissioners especially appointed, concerning any matter that entitles the king to the possession of lands or tenements, goods or chattels, as to inquire whether the king's tenant for life died sees, whereby the reversion accrues to the king. And this is lowercase king. It ain't any particular king, it's just you as one of the king of kings' kings. So, whereby the reversion accrues to the king, whether A, who held immediately of the crown, died without an heir, in which case the lands belong to the king by his cheat, be attained of treason, whereby his estate is forfeited to the crown, who has purchased the land by an alien, which is another cause of forfeiture. So if any of those things have happened, the property goes to the king. So who held immediately of the crown, died without heir. In this case, the lands belong to the king by ex cheat. I don't know, we're talking about the Pope, died without heir? Be attained to treason, whereby his estate is forfeited to the crown, which is what's going to happen to these people that are de facto right now. You know, it's unconstitutional what they're doing. If it's unconstitutional, it's called treason. All right, go look at de facto officer in Black's dictionary, law dictionary. I had it on the last video, but it talks in there about unconstitutional law or something like that. Unconstitutional. Well, if it's unconstitutional, it means it's treason. These inquests of office were most frequently in practice during the continuance of the military tenures, and was devised by law as authentic means to give the king his right by solemn matter of record, sometimes simply termed office, as in the phrase office found. Most frequently practiced during the continuance. So really, that what they say, one of the things, or one of the ways it's described, is that when you were baptized and confirmed into the church, you were commissioned into the base of the army of the Lord, right? You're one of his soldiers. You're a Christian soldier. And you're about to be promoted. Because one of the things they did is that promotion would not, it was about cardinals. The princes of the church were not by blood, right? They were by, I don't want to say that. I gotta be careful what I say. Forget that. What else we got here? Provisional, right? Temporary, preliminary, tentative, taken or done by way of precaution or ad interim, so it was already put in place as a precaution. Provisional government, one temporarily established in anticipation and to exist and continue until another more regular or more permanent shall be organized and instituted in its stead. And so the province of Detroit is a provincial government temporarily established in anticipation of and to exist and continue until another, the one world government under the Christian nation, is established. Okay. And then decree, in a general sense, an order or law made by a superior authority to the direction of others. In ecclesiastic use, various meanings, any papal bull, brief, or motu proprio is a decree inasmuch as these documents are legislative acts of the Holy Father. In this sense, the term is quite ancient. Are empowered to issue decrees. The Roman congregation are empowered to issue decrees in matters which come under their particular jurisdiction. So we have one that's called the Pontifical Council for the Laity. And it would be within their jurisdiction to issue us this decree. Each ecclesiastic province, like the province of Detroit, and also each diocese, like the Diocese of Grand Rapids, may issue decrees in their periodic synods within the sphere of authority. So, one of the things we found out by asking is who is the executor of a papal decree? Two different sources said the Archbishop. Okay, so he has the authority to do it. And what we want him to do is issue us this frickin' final decree to determine the rights, title, and interest to that all capital letter name, that it's your property, that you're an adult, you're not under any kind of defect, and you have the status of whatever within the church. And within the church, as a citizen of the church, it's when they open up these courts that they're talking about. The difference is in the church's jurisdiction, you have to swear to the complaint and bring forward witnesses. Now, a witness can just be evidence under seal, right? It's been witnessed. Well, what is this? Well, this shows that in this particular case, the plaintiff is a fictitious entity, and that's contempt of court. It's a self-confession. And notaries are ecclesiastic offices. The word is also used to denote a specified collection of church law, the decree of Gratian in respect to general legislative acts. The Pope, never doubt, as the universal extent of the obligation of the same may be said of the decree of General Council. If Vatican Council put it out, it's universal. And they're the ones who said, set this office up, or set up this congregation. They called it the Council for the Pontifical Council for the Laity, the Pope's Council for the Laity. It's a beautiful thing. But there are varying opinions of whether such judgment decisions do not bind, except in particular cases with which the decree is made. See, we're trying to get a final decree just for ourselves, because they can't make you take the office. You were mandated to have the office, and you haven't taken it yet. And so, if you think of the three servants of the master, and the master left, and he gave one 5 shekels of silver, the other one 2 shekels, and the other one 1 shekel. He comes back. The guy with 5 had turned it into 10. The guy with 2 had turned it into 4. And the guy with 1 had buried it in the ground and gave it back to the master, and he was very upset. All right, that's everybody who's already deceased has taken their estate into the ground, and they never increased the estate in the name of the Lord. And that's what we're going to do. Because when we go to the church society, we bring all of our property with us, and your house just became an embassy of the church. Now, it's yours for as long as you want to stay there. You can hand it down to your family, but if you ever leave, it's church property. They can give it to somebody else. That's how we're going to return all the land to the church. Because we're just talking the certificates. The earth itself is God's. We're just talking about pieces of paper with defined territories that somebody with coercive force is now saying you owe them. Instead, the coercive force now is going to come to the Vatican saying it's our property, don't touch it. It's in the communal pot of the church. Rescripts are responses to the Pope or a sacred congregation in writing to queries or petitions of individuals. Some rescripts concern the granting of favors, others the administration of justice, the interpretation of a law, the appointment of a judge. So I want the law interpreted that says you're supposed to give me a decree for a judicial personality, sui juris within the church. Sometimes the favor is actually granted in the rescript. Sometimes another is empowered to concede the request, right? So that would be the executor. Sometimes the grant is made under certain conditions to be examined by the executor, such as we motion for final decree. The petition forwarded to Rome comprises 3 parts: the narrative, the exposition of facts, the petition, the reason for the request. The response likewise contains 3 parts: a brief exposition of the case, the decision of the grant, and reason of the same. Every rescript presupposes the truth of allegations found in the supplication. Intentional falsehood or concealment of the truth renders rescript invalid, since no one should benefit through his own deceit. I don't plan on having any. I just don't understand everything. Well, that's good, because according to some, however, the rescript is valid if voluntary misrepresentation affects only the secondary reason of the grant. This is certainly true when there is no fraud, but merely inadvertence or ignorance of requirements. I am ignorant of the requirements, and unless somebody's going to tell me, I'm going to have to wing it. Rescripts effective from the date they bear, others only from the moment of execution. Rescripts contrary to common law contain a derogatory clause, all things to the contrary notwithstanding. Because a court of chancery can trump a court of law. The court of chancery is whatever they say at the end of the day is what it is. Because in common law, here's the way the common law works, right? It says whoever has the legal title is the owner. Period. Right? So what if somebody comes in your house, robs you, takes your title to your property, and runs off with it? Well, now he has the legal title. He's holding the legal title. He would be the owner. Because common law didn't go as far to say unless it happened to be by fraud. They just said he who has a legal title is the owner. So if somebody steals your legal title, you still have equitable title, and you need to go to the court of equity to say, hey, he stole my title. He never signed the contract. I don't have a contract with them, and they're trying to make a unilateral contract act like it's binding in law, and it's not. It could only be a gift or a donation. And that wasn't my intention. I thought we had a deal. I thought they were going to lend me something, but they never signed the contract. This is interesting about constitutions. In legal language, the term constitutions denotes only church ordinances. So the Constitution of the United States of America is a church ordinance, because civil ordinances begin being termed laws. Ecclesiastic constitutions, on the other hand, emanate from the authority directly of divine institution. Their ultimate object is promotion of salvation of souls in the kingdom of God on earth. Their sanction consists in spiritual penalties. So we have this thing called the Constitution of the United States of America that they're not following right now. But it emanated from the authority directly of divine institution, and the highest divine institution on the face of the earth is the Holy See. Because Peter's got the keys to heaven. The divine laws contained in the scriptures, interpreted by living, authoritative tradition, e.g. the Ten Commandments, the constitutions of the church, the administration of the sacraments. So the church has got its own constitution for all baptized Christians. And apparently you were given 2 citizenships, but you don't have citizenship papers for either. You don't have any citizenship papers that shows that you're a citizen of the United States of America. You don't have a certificate of citizenship or a decree of citizenship. Right? And that's what we're going to get, is a final decree that determines once and for all that we're the owners. Episcopal constitutions are issued by bishops, either singularly or assembled in synods. The constitutions of the 10 provincial and 3 plenary councils of Baltimore, which have adapted the ancient constitutions of the universal church to the peculiar national and political institution of the United States of America. To the Constitution of the United States of America. Go figure. What else was there? Duncan, I did that one. Did I do that one? Okay, so this is... So, first of all, there was a decree on the apostolate of the laity. And this was from Vatican II. And in point 26, in dioceses, insofar as possible, there should be councils which assist the apostolic work of the church, either in the field of evangelization or sanctification, or in charitable, social, or other spheres. And here it is fitting that the clergy and religious should cooperate with the laity. While preserving the proper characters and autonomy of each organization, these councils will be made to promote the mutual coordination of various lay associations and enterprises. Councils of this type should be established as far as possible on the parochial, interparochial, and interdiocesan level, as well as in national or international sphere. A special secretariat, moreover, should be established at the Holy See for the service and promotion of the lay apostolate. It can serve as a well-equipped center for communicating information about the various apostolic programs of the laity, promoting research into modern problems arising in the field, and assisting in the hierarchy and laity and their apostolic works with its advice. And our apostolic work is to conform the temporal world to the will of the Lord. The various movements and projects of the apostolate of the laity throughout the world should also be represented in this secretariat, and the clergy and religious also are to cooperate with the laity. So that's what that said. And so what the Pope did, based on the decree from this was from the joint session of Congress, basically, is he set up the Pontifical Council for Laity, originated from the proposal formulated in 26 of the Conciliar Decree on the Apostolate of the Laity. Its birth was made official in 1967 with a motu proprio. Again, that's pretty powerful paperwork, about as powerful as the Pope can do. In fact, I think it is, by his hand as the Supreme Pontiff of the Universal Church. At the end of the first experimental period of 5 years, the Pope declared, "No one can fail to see that the Laity Council is destined to have privileges placed within the Church. The Council, in fact, is evermore an irreplaceable and effective instrument for the promotion of the laity in the Church." That's why I think that we need to possibly petition the Pope through the Cardinal, who's over the Pontifical Council for the Laity. But we're going to just see if we can do it closer, right? Can the Vicar General do it? Can the Archbishop do it? If so, who do we see? What's the paperwork called? What do we need to do to complete the process? I accept the office. The name given to certain papal rescripts on account of the clause of his own accord used in the document. The words signify the provisions of the rescript are decided on by the Pope personally, that is, not on the advice of the cardinals or others, but for the reason which he himself deems sufficient. The document is generally the form of a decree. The phrase motu proprio is frequently employed in papal documents. One characteristic result of its use is that a rescript containing it is valid and produces its effect, even in cases of fraud, would ordinarily have violated the document. For the words signify that the Pope is granting the favor does not rely on the reasons alleged. You just need to ask. You don't even need to be correct in your reasons for alleging. If it's just for you to have it, he's going to give it to you. And so what does it say in this Pontifical Council of Laity? I've pointed these out before, but it's just fun to do. The drafting of a decree granting juridical personality and exercising the supreme, full, and immediate authority over the universal church, the Roman Pontiff employs the various departments of the Roman Curia which act in his name and by his authority for the good of the churches and in the services of the sacred pastors. That would be you. Detailed information can be requested from the Secretariat, which is readily comply with all requests. And ain't so much so. I did send something to the info page there, and they haven't gotten back to me yet. They are a new creation, new men and women incorporated into Christ through the grace of baptism, called to grow in holiness as Christi Fieldis, sharers in their own way in the threefold office, priestly, prophetic, and kingly, and of the world at the service, mastery of oneself, and of the world at the service of the kingdom of God. Who could ask for more? The laity, who were called instead to serve the person and society on the basis of their involvement in the temporalities, and with the strength coming from the gospel of Jesus Christ, because you get to speak in his name. You get to speak in his name and judge the living and the dead. This meant the consolidation of a juridical entity different from that contemplated in the Code of Canon Law in 1917. It seemed very opportune that a special office, sui juris, of the laity should be set up within the Holy See. The object of this council is a state of life or category of Christians, the lay, Christi Fieldis. I think that's the name of the office. Seeing that the church laws regarding laity are strictly observed and examining by administration means disputes involving the lay people. Right? This is the court that was supposed to be set up as part of this for the discipline of the secular clergy and of the Christian people. Foster the faithful observance of the ecclesiastic laws concerning the laity, promoting of justice among nations. In closing, the council exists as a means only in relation to the laity. The only reason it's there is for us. It is a dicastery, a law court, whose doors are open for the most diverse persons and experiences. Animation and support of the lay faithful for their special task of fulfilling the realm of temporal things in the spirit of the gospel. So we have this law court as part of the Pontifical Council for the Laity, and I just believe we need to petition for now. If you had something today, right, I'd be telling them I want to appeal your decision to the Pope. I'm going to send it to the Pontifical Council for the Laity. But more important, we need to go figure out how to get this damn office, and then all that shit that you're dealing with, which is just really symptoms of the problem. It's not the problem. The foreclosure's not the problem. Traffic case isn't the problem. IRS isn't the problem. They're symptoms. The problem is you don't have a juridical sui juris personality within the Holy See, so if somebody wants to sue you, they have to fucking swear to it. Okay, okie dokie. Yeah, just a couple more things real quick. This is out of the Code of Canon Law, 1983, which you can download online by simply Googling Code of Canon Law, 1983. Juridical persons, or by special concession given in the form of a decree. That's how you get one. What's it for? Of the apostolate. That's us. Whether spiritual or temporal, doesn't matter. Given in a form of a decree for the lay apostolate, so we can carry out our mission for the church. Juridical persons in the church are either aggregates of persons or aggregates of things. An aggregate of persons, which must be made up of at least three persons, me, myself, and I, heart, mind, and soul. That would be three. That'd be your Trinity. Right? They split your Trinity up. Church got your soul. State's got your body. You got your mind. You're going to put them all back together. An aggregate of things, which is all your estates under your all capital letter name, all these different unilateral contracts you've been involved in, and your ancestors and their ancestors, as far back as this goes, right? That's the aggregate of things. Or an autonomous foundation consists of goods or things, whether spiritual or material, and is directed in accordance with the law and statutes by one or more physical persons or by a college. Well, by one physical person, me, mine, Robert Alowitluski, all caps, everything under it, boom. Right? Which means it came from my ancestors, my biological father, mother, grandparents, so forth, and my God-given rights. Public juridical persons are aggregates of persons or of things which are established by the competent ecclesiastic authority, so that within the limits allotted them in the name of the church, in the name of the Lord, and in accordance with the provisions of law, they might fulfill their specific task entrusted to them for the public good. Point out the false accuser. Tell them, you don't stop that, I prophesize, you're going to go to jail. And when they do, guess what? You are a prophet. Other juridical persons are private. Okay, so for the validity of juridical act, it is required that it be performed by a person who is legally capable, and it must contain those elements which constitute the essence of the act, as well as the formalities and requirements which the law prescribes for the validity of the act. Someplace they have a damn piece of paper that all we need to do is sign it. They're going to put the seal of the Court of Chancery on it, and it's game on. All right, this is going to be a perfectly written, common law lawful decree that will stand up in any court in the world. And basically, for anybody to go against you after that would be treason. Right, to steal your property, to try to throw you in prison without proper procedures and so forth. Whoever unlawfully causes harm to another by a juridical act, or indeed any other act which is deceitful or culpable, is obliged to repair the damage done. But there's going to be a lot of books being changed here real soon. Lots of administration going to happen. What other one we got? And this is the Code of Canon Law also. No custom which is contrary to divine law can acquire the force of law. That's wonderful, right? So the things they're doing to you cannot acquire the force of law. Within the limits of his or her competence, one who has executive power can issue a singular administrative act either by decree or precept without prejudice to Canon 76. So if the archbishops are the executors of the papal decrees from the Pope, right, then he would have the power to issue a singular administrative act, a singular decree. Administrative act which concerns the external form, which is where we are, we're in the world, to be effected in writing. Likewise, if it requires an executor, the act of execution is to be in writing. So we need to have a written decree. The executor of any administrative act cannot validly carry out this office before receiving the relevant document and establishing its authenticity and integrity unless prior notice of this document has been conveyed to the executor on the authority of the person who issued the administrative act. Okay. The executor of any administrative act cannot validly carry out that before receiving the relevant document. So the vice chancellor, the vicar general, somebody going to fill this piece of paper out and send it to the archbishop. The executor of an administrative act, to whom the task of execution only is entrusted, cannot refuse to execute it. The executor of an administrative act must proceed in accordance with the mandate. A singular decree is an administrative act issued by a competent executive authority, whereby, in accordance with the norms of law, a decision is given or provision made for a particular case, or of its nature, this decision or provision does not presuppose that a petition has been made by anyone. Before issuing a singular decree, the person in authority is to seek the necessary information and proof, and as far as possible to consult with those rights could be harmed. Okay, so what's the proof? It's your baptismal certificate. A decree is to be issued in writing. A singular decree whose application is entrusted to an executor has effect from the moment of execution, otherwise from the moment when it was made known to a person on authority of the one who's issued it. All right, so as soon as we get the Archbishop to do his thing. Now look at, I was told the story, and I'm sure many of you have heard the story before. Some guy went in to see the Archbishop and said he wanted out of the system. The Archbishop said, you really don't want that. The guy says, I really want out of the system. No, you don't really want that. I want out of the system. I don't believe you want that. I want out of the system. Fine, whatever. Next day he wakes up, doesn't have a bank account. Doesn't have anything. It took him out of the system. He was stateless. He should have said, I want in the system. But he didn't. He got what he asked for. A singular decree, to be enforceable, it must be made known by lawful document in accordance with the law. That's why we need the paper. A lawful document. A decree is deemed to have been made known if the person to whom it is directed has been duly summoned to receive or hear the decree and without just reason has not appeared or has refused to sign. No problem there, I'll sign it. Whenever the law orders a decree to be issued, or when a person who is concerned lawfully requests a decree. It's what we're going to do. We're concerned, and we're going to lawfully request a decree. How do I lawfully request a decree? Simple question, right? It's all we need to get an answer for. Well, what decree? Well, for the final decree that would come because of the Pontifical Council of the Laity decree that says that you can draft a decree for judicial personality. What is a judicial personality? A collection of natural persons or other legally constituted entity which has the personality recognized by law and can the bearer of rights and obligations. Christi Fieldis is Christian. Special office sui juris laity should be set by the Holy See. Yep, I like to keep pointing that out. What is sui juris? The phrase sui juris indicates legal competence, the capacity to manage one's own affairs. It also indicates an entity that's capable of suing or being sued in a legal proceeding in its own name without the need of an ad litem. Don't need to have a guardian. I don't need counsel. It also relates to customary unique rights afforded to an individual, unequal and exceptional per feudal prerogative legal structure that were additionally in personam and so legally reciprocal at the scale of personhood, effectively accruing constituencies polity by individualism. Individuation. We know what motu proprio is. Okay, from New Advent, what's a petition? The petition should be addressed to the Pope himself and should therefore begin with the words Petissimi Pater, Most Holy Father, Francis. The petitioner should then give his full name, his place of residence, and diocese. And so that's why even though I'm going to send it to the Cardinal, it's going to be to Petissimi Pater Francis. Full name is Robert Allen Rytlewski. Place of residence, I'm actually in the township of Oakfield, and I'm within the Diocese of Grand Rapids. Next should follow a clear and concise statement of the favor desired and the reasons for the petition and all the information necessary to enable the Holy See to arrive at its decision. Okay, I was given the name Robert Allen, baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, duly confirmed to the Catholic Church at the age of reason, granted a commission by the Lord himself. I acknowledge and accept the special office, Christi Fieldis, and his sui juris personality. within the universal church, inclusive of the mandate to speak in his name, conforming the temporal order to his will, as one of the lay apostolates and pilgrim church. As evidence, I included a copy of my certificate of baptism, notation of confirmation. So there's my evidence. And I'm asking for the drafting and execution of a decree for sui juris judicial personality and acknowledgement of the rights, title, and interests of said office. So, too many freaking windows open again. Anyways, that's kind of where we're at. Going to go hit some Archbishop's office, Vicar General's, canon lawyer, anybody. What we're trying to get is the singular decree, the drafting of a singular decree for our judicial personality sui juris within the Holy See as described in the pontifical decree, the Pontifical Council for the Laity. And whether we need to appeal directly to that office or can we go through somebody more local, which would seem, again, this dude here, he's a judge of the Court of Appeals, right? And we're putting in an appeal. So, we didn't have any luck at the local parishes. In fact, Bob was told by his parish that not every parish has the church seal. That could be true. I think every parish has a parish seal, but not every parish has a church seal, because a church seal would be the seal from the Court of Chancery. And to defy the Court of Chancery shall rain the thunderous wrath of the Vatican upon you. So said a chancellor in Tennessee back in 1907. He was chancellor of a Court of Chancery in Tennessee. I'm going to see if he's right. I want to get my decree. Okay, that's it for today. Enjoy it.